Holy moly! Come on. Woo! All right, this one is the carded sample. I cannot get it in focus. Hang on. Hi, welcome to FiberLoveDiary. I'm Trish if we haven't met, and if we have met, welcome back. How are you? I have been off for the past week. I've been like sewing mostly. The first 2 days we literally did nothing, and I mean nothing. We sat on the couch together and watching the 90-day franchise. I don't know why. For some reason, it was comforting. But I'm back. And one of the things I sewed, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw this already. In my last weaving run, I had extra fabric, or I planned to have extra fabric that didn't become towels, even though some of it did become towels. It was that stuff I wove, hang on, let me show you, where I let the stripes be completely random. I actually used a random number generator to pick the colors. I picked the palette and then assigned numbers to each color and used a random number generator to pick what was going to be in each stripe. It turned out pretty cool. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The weaving had some imperfections, which is actually fine if I want to cut it up and sew with it anyway, because, you know, just work around them or put them in a seam or whatever. So I did some sewing with this fabric. I learned some stuff. So I made a box bag with the twill. I'll show you. If you've ever done this, you know that you usually would use a fusible fleece or a fusible something and fuse it to the outer fabric just to give it like a little bit more body. I used a fusible fleece that was just too thick for this pattern, and so I struggled with the lining. What I used for the lining was this really, really thin cotton canvas, and it's totally borked up in there. But the outside looks really good, right? This is a cute little bag. It looks great, but the inside of this one is messed up. Let me show you this fabric up close. Isn't that cool looking? Each stripe is different. It really turned out awesome. And when you make sure to be careful to match the stripes, you get all these fun little places where the stripes match up. So learning that fleece was too thick, I went ahead and used a thinner, I mean, it's hardly even fleece. It's really just more like fusible web or fusible interfacing, I guess. So I used that for the second bag. This is the second bag, and it turned out actually much better. The lining is not messed up inside. I don't know if I can show you. This is the lining. It is, again, that real fine canvas. That's what I also made these little, like, they're to take the pressure off when you're zipping. You can hold it to zip or unzip. These little things are made out of the lining fabric. So I did those. I made a dress for Jessica, my doll. You guys know about Jessica. I don't know, maybe you guys want to see that too. Hang on, I'll show you the dress. I already had both of these outfits cut out for her, and they were just sitting next to my sewing machine. So while I was trying to keep my brain busy this week, I went ahead and sewed them up. So this is the dress. You know what? It doesn't do it justice if I don't put it on. Let me put it on her. This is the dress. I'm telling you, in person, it is so much better. And people ask me about her a lot. So she is a doll from like the late 70s. I think she came out in 76. Her name is Baby Nancy. And I was researching to find out what doll she actually was, because people kept asking me. But by the way, is the dress not the most beautiful thing in the world? I am looking for ribbon either purple or green for the sash, because there should be a sash across here that ties in a big bow in the back, but it's so pretty. But anyway, baby Nancy has like a really fascinating, she's in the Toy Hall of Fame, not this baby Nancy, but baby Nancy has a toy, and she is fascinating. So if you're interested in her history, you should look her up, Google her, because it's actually really, really interesting history with her. I believe I got her when I was like 3 or 4. And then I also made her, they call this a bunting. I would just call it like a bag sleeper or a sack sleeper. I'm gonna have to put it on because, you know, it's just nowhere near as cute on these teeny little hangers, by the way. I bought her hangers, and John hung up a closet rod for her. So there's a teeny little closet rod behind her on my desk. But anyway, I call her Jessica. Jessica, when I was a little kid, I was told the options for my name, because I was named Patricia like at the last minute, when right after I was born at the hospital. That was not the plan. And so I was told the 2 possibilities that my name were going to be when I was a little girl, and Jessica was one of them. And I really liked it. So I have always called her Jessica. The other one was Deirdre. No offense if you're a Deirdre. Jessica spoke to me, I guess. So she also got this little like sack sleeper thing with, I don't know, what do you call these? Dingle ball detail that matches. I just happen to have some, and I thought I'm gonna use this somewhere. I was gonna put it on her sleeves as well, but I had already gathered them, and it's really hard to sew on something you've already gathered. I just thought, she's okay. Isn't that sweet? The color is so pretty on her. I know I'm strange for doing this, but it's bringing me so much joy, and at the same time it's really helping my sewing skills become better. I thought it would be easy because it'd be so quick and like tiny amounts of fabric and blah blah blah, but it's actually kind of hard to do all the little tiny details that go into a piece this small. So it's been really good for my skills. Anyway, I'm gonna go hang up her dresses and put her back. So that's what's been keeping me busy this week. But today I'm gonna do something else. Today I wanna unbox something. If you ever show up for my raw fleece content, you've probably heard of Merrifield thin fleeces. I don't know why it's hard for me to say, but sometimes it is. Sandy contacted me, oh gosh, how long ago? Hang on. In May. I'm sorry, Sandy. You don't deserve to have waited this long. I'm sorry. She contacted me in May and said they would like to send me a fleece because probably 3 years ago I bought my first fleece from them. I have bought several since, and I showed it to all of you. Maybe it was only 2 years ago, but I think it was 3. And I think they're the nicest fin fleeces that I've ever bought. They are beautiful. I did not buy one this year just simply because I have so many fleeces. Like I'm behind on washing and stuff, but she said she was so appreciative because so many of you guys have tried them out because I like them so much that she wanted to send me one, and so she did. So Sandy, before I even open this, I just want to say thank you so much. Knowing that just using and loving your fleeces helped your farm out really makes me happy. It makes me feel so good. So thank you for sending this, and thank you for letting me know. So I've got my purple knife. I haven't used this in a while. First of all, she does such a good job, or they do such a good job of like sucking all the air out and getting these in smaller packages so shipping is more affordable. Can't recommend them highly enough. She sent me a note. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I might cry. You know, I'm a little emotional right now. We're gonna try. Trish at FiberLoveDiary, our thank you gift has been too long coming for your kind purchase and mention of our fin fleeces during your online show. We are very thankful and blessed by the support of our fin sheep flock friends by your followers. Wow, this is Sydney's lamb fleece, 3 pounds 4 ounces, 7-month growth. You guys, gifted to you with much appreciation. Sandy, the shepherdess, and Jim, my top flock supporter, vet tech midwife. Oh Jim, you are busy. From Merrifield Fin Sheep. And then underneath she put a picture of Sydney so that I could see what Sydney looked like. It says, being a rascally little lamb and our flock is uncoated, there is a bit of VM. I also left a bit of her britch in it as it had a pretty nice hand. So uncoated sheep often have some VM, and you guys know my stance on that. Sheep live outside. Coating a sheep is very, very difficult for the shepherds and for the flock, honestly. And so I actually prefer an uncoated sheep, and I expect some VM. So I am not worried about that. You know, I'm fine with it. I do know how to remove it. Thank you, Sandy. This is so nice of you. I really appreciate this. I'm gonna start washing this today, by the way. Are you ready to see Sydney's lamb fleece? I don't think I've ever had a Finn lamb. I've bought lamb fleeces in quite a few other breeds, but I don't think I've had a Finn one. Let me put this box aside. I'm trying to be careful and keep the bag intact so I can use it again. Holy moly! This is I think this is the blackest fleece I've ever had. Look at it. I'm crying. I've had such a hard week. Thank you, Sandy. This is beautiful. It is not lost on me that I could make videos forever, but if you guys didn't believe what I say, go and try out the things that I say are great. Support me, support my channel. If you didn't do that, I would not ever have the opportunity for Sandy to send me something like this. Like, this is so generous, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Because without you guys, I would not still be here, and I mean on YouTube, and I would definitely not receive gifts like this. I am gonna give away 2 6-ounce sections of this fleece for anybody who comments and puts the word Sydney in your comment, so that I can find that you actually want 6 ounces of raw fleece you want to win. Because there's many of you who, even though you love watching this and you love doing spinning, knitting, weaving, all these things, you might not be a person who feels comfortable processing raw fleece. You may not have the right facility for it, whatever. So if you want to receive a prize from me and Sandy, really, make sure the name Sydney is in your comment. I'm gonna take 2 6-ounce batches of this out and bag them up now, and then we're gonna go wash some of this. Thank you. This wouldn't be happening if it weren't for you guys. It's really about you guys. I just want to give something back. Thank you so much, Sandy. I will pick a winner next week, Tuesday, because this will come out on Tuesday. So I'll pick a winner the following Tuesday, and so you'll have 1 week. Okay, so I immediately took both of these out. They're both like 6.1 and 6.2 ounces for the prizes. Let's go wash the rest. There's plenty here for a sweater. So, and I'm just looking, I can't hardly believe this is 7 months growth, but I'm going to show you guys a lock. Let me get a ruler. Hang on. Okay, yay. I had one right on the table. So this is 7 months growth, she said, and it is stretched out. It's a solid 5 inches. Look at it. And it's very, very fine. It's time we gotta go wash some right now. I hope it's not too windy. If it is, I'll voice over. This is the bag I wash in. I get them at Dollar General. I just thought I'd show you what they look like. What I do is tie a knot probably about 1/3 of the way down, or 1/4 of the way down. It's probably 1/3 of the way down, just to make the bag a little smaller. And I'm gonna kind of fill this loosely with wool. This fleece is actually really clean. John was surprised that it's even raw. He was like, what? This isn't washed? It does not pay to stuff these because what will happen is the soap and the water can't penetrate to the center, so you want to make sure you keep it kind of loose. It just won't get cleaned. So just do more washes, you know, more batches, rather than have to do the same ones over again. So that's about how full I like it. It's not tight. You can see it's kind of like a big wool pizza. Look at this fleece in the light, by the way. Can you see it? That's insane. It's so beautiful. This is our outdoor water faucet, and I'm gonna wash in these. I have 2 of these galvanized pails. They were like $10 at my local like farm store. We have our hot water heater turned up all the way, which I believe is like 140 or 145. So I'm gonna actually let it run until it gets as hot as it'll get, and then go ahead and fill this up about 2/3 of the way. If you know me, you know what's next. I am gonna use the Blue Dawn. Yes, this is what we're gonna use. It's like the classic, and I am going to squirt it in here till the water is like light blue. That's plenty. I'm not gonna spend crazy money on something that is just concentrated detergent. Talk to a chemist. They will tell you she's the girl. So now I just submerge it. It's super hot. I don't want to put my hand in there, so I'll use my Dawn bottle to push it under. And ideally, your water temps aren't going to change tons from like one submersion to the next. So I don't like to leave them long. Like 15 minutes is usually my outer limit. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave these for like 12. I'm gonna weed in the yard while I wait. So I'm gonna set my timer and I'll be back in 12 minutes. Okay, the first wash is done. My timer just went off. I'm actually gonna pour these someplace where I'm not worried if it's gonna kill the weeds. We have like a rocky area that I have to weed all the time, because this really hot water is going to kill the plants you pour it on. So be a little bit careful unless you wanna let it cool. I don't have time for that. So I'm gonna take these out. Okay, I'm using less soap this time because this fleece was not that greasy or dirty. Bottle. I mean, you can tell already that what's coming out of these is just nowhere near as dirty. So I'm gonna give this 10 minutes this time, and I'll be right back. Okay, so you saw the first time, the first wash. My hands are so dirty from weeding. You can see that this water is way cleaner. Oh my gosh, I'm dripping all over. This water is way, way cleaner. So I am gonna rinse after this. Okay, so these rinses I will do for like 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, I'm just trying to get the soap out of the wool. And I'm not too pressed. If there's still a little bit of soap in there, I'm gonna wash the yarn after I finish spinning it and everything. So it just isn't that big of a deal to me, but do what makes you happy with your spinning, you know? So in 5 minutes, we're gonna roll this in a towel and take a look at it. Here we go. I just took them out of the bag. I wanted to just feel if they were at all felted. That's just coming apart super easily. So we're in good shape there. And they look really good. I'm excited. We're gonna roll this in 2 towels, and I'm gonna leave this for a while because the towels will continue to pull water out of it for a while, and that'll shorten my drying time. Leave this for about an hour and then I will set it all out, fluff it out, and put it on one of those sweater racks to dry. Okay, it's the next morning, so we're going to take this out of the roll. I just left it rolled up all night and put it on this sweater drying rack I paid 25 cents for at a garage sale, and then I'm gonna vacuum my entire house. Just gonna loosen up clumps. Like if you're trying to do it in locks, don't do this, but I don't ever do that, so. All right, let's let it dry. I'm gonna say probably like, I'll be back in 2 hours. Oh man, it's nice. Hi, I have washed it, it's dry. I wanna just do a tiny little sample of a couple different preps to see what I like the best. After it was dry, I put it in a big bag so I can keep it all together until I actually have time to spin it all and prep it. I'm really gonna keep these samples small. So the first one I'm gonna do is combs. And I am going to use my Valkyrie. These are the extra fine, yeah, extra fine Wolverine. You know I have to do it. Combs. And I'm gonna move you so you can see better. So when I put locks on a comb, I will just try to grab them all by the tip. Just seeing if any of these were not. Yep, see? This is why we do it. So I try to grab them all by the tip, but I don't really care. If you were a combing purist, you would want all the butts going in one direction and all the tips going in one direction. I'm not. You just take the end, whichever end you want, your butt, your tip. I like to use the butt first if I can. And put them on your comb with only a little bit. See that? Hanging off the back. These are sharp, so get your tetanus shots, and I'm not joking because you will poke yourself. This is the one that will create the most waste, so I'm not sure I'm okay with it, but we'll see. So then I'm going to take my other one, and I do have a stand for these. Sometimes I use it. I'm not going to use it for this very small amount. Never point these towards yourself. Never point them towards your legs. Just don't do that. I can't tell you how many times I see it and I'm just like, why? Why are you doing that? You could really hurt yourself because there is some tension as well. So you're going to put some pressure on it. And if you're putting pressure on it and you're poking this towards your leg and suddenly it lets go of the tension because you've gotten all the way through, you know, the pulling part, you can stab yourself. I'm not kidding. Please don't do that. So stressing me out. And you're just going to like gently, I can see there's a loose one. See that? Take off a tiny bit at the end. I do have a little bit of static. If I was doing a large amount of this, I would use carding milk, but it's only one little, I mean, this is probably less than ½ an ounce, so I'm not going to worry about it. If you are feeling like you want to flip one of these to get to the other side, like this is your static comb right now, you're just combing off of it. If you feel like you want to go the other direction, it is okay to turn it like this because you are not pushing down, putting downward tension on it, and then just comb off. It will help you get more, but never with the moving comb should you ever point it towards yourself. Do you see that? So, because that one doesn't have any pressure on it, any tension or pressure. Okay, so I'm going to take this off. Now I'm going to switch. The first comb that was moving is going to be my static comb. So now this won't move. And when I say static, I mean not moving. I don't mean static-y, you know. Do the same thing. Now see, I got a lot less waste that time. The reason I call this waste is because, I'll show you. When you are combing, A lot of the short little pieces and also pieces that are tangled will get stuck on the back, and that's why you can't transfer those pieces away, why they don't come off when you're combing away from yourself. So you don't want to keep those. All right, so now I'll show you. So this is the back, and these are tangled. See, well, you can see right there. There's a little tangle right there. It just happens, and it's okay while you're processing. So that was 3 passes. That's gonna work for me. That's enough. I can spin directly off this comb this way, or I can pull it off. And a little bit of like dust and stuff fell out. That is totally normal. You can use a diz if you want to. There is certainly nothing wrong with that. Be gentle, because it's really easy to just like separate the wool. This combed up really nicely. If you are having a hard time getting some off the comb, sometimes it helps to wiggle a little bit like that. We're just about done. And keep an eye when you get closer. See how I'm getting closer to the teeth? You will start to see some of those little shortcuts or things, whatever, little tangles and whatever, coming between them. That's when you want to stop. I don't see them yet, but I am paying attention. Oh, I see some there. See, I'll show you. See how right here I got 3, well, you maybe can't see the third one, but you can see those teeny little tangles in there. That's how I know to stop, and I'm actually gonna grab those out. That does not mean there's something wrong with your fleece. That is just gonna happen in every fleece. That's the reason you comb, because you want to keep those little things on the back so that you don't pull them off when you pull off your comb top. I'm gonna just roll it into like a little nest. I've rolled it into a little nest. I'm gonna set that aside, and we're gonna spin all 3 of my samples later. But it's easy, you can see, look how easy that was. It's not hard at all. All right, angels. It's the next day. It's kind of early. I've got another handful. It's probably a ½ an ounce or less. And then I'm going to run that through the carder, because like I said, I wanted to do 3 samples. The other one, I'm just going to flick and spin locks. So I'm going to pick these as I run them through the carder, but I will run them through 2 or 3 times. We'll see how they look. And I'm going to go very slowly and be really gentle, because it's so fine. I'm just concerned that it's not going to card well, but we won't know till we try, because I have experienced before certain breeds can get very fine and still card very nicely, and Finn is one of them. So it's just kind of like a we just have to try it situation. So there's one time through. We're going to pull this off, and I'm going to run it through 1 or 2 more times, and we'll see how it does. It does not appear to be creating neps. I still want to see how it spins. The reason why very fine fleeces sometimes can't be carded, or I shouldn't say that, but when they are carded, they create neps, is because the fibers are so fine. And when they get pulled onto the bigger drum, what happens is this passes more quickly. So the fiber's being pulled up, and then this is pulling it off the smaller drum because it's going more quickly. So as it goes faster, it keeps pulling fiber off the smaller one. As it's pulling, if that fleece is very fine, it can pull the strand and they can snap. And what happens when it snaps is it bounces back and creates a little tangle. That's what those little neps are from. Either that or a shortcut, which doesn't matter, of course, what the length of the fleece is. That's why sometimes finer fleeces are better just not carded. Oh my gosh. This one's carding great. And to me, it's looking like this is ready to be spun. Come in really close. You can see it's looking really good. There is the tiniest amount of VM in here, but it doesn't matter. It will fall out as we spin. So that's ready to go. We just have to flick some locks. Okay, I'm going to flick out, hang on, this little handful of locks plus what I've already pulled out. Basically, I just pull them out at one end or the other. I don't really care that much if I've gotten like all the butts or tips, just like combing. And then I'll pull a bit to make sure that I do have it all. See, I didn't have all of it grabbed. So that's gonna end up in the brush if you have a loose lock. So the next thing I'll do is I'm holding all those butts, or I'm holding all those ends, whichever end, and then I will twist it at least once. Sometimes I do twice. And then you just kind of bounce your flicker brush. I have an Ashford. I'm sure someone's gonna wanna know which kind I have. I actually have one that came with one of my carders too. I don't remember which carder it even came with. Then I'm gonna turn it and do the other side of that little handful of locks. Okay, so you've gotten that whole end, and then you'll grab it by that end, and wherever you had gripped it, like I had it gripped right here, I wanna make sure that that is free. So then I'll twist it. Of course, if you don't twist it, you're going to pull them right out of your hand. Okay, and again, I'm just bouncing it through. Okay. And what you get is this little troll hair tuft. And so I'll just go through these really quickly and do all of them, because I feel like the correct prep for each fleece, first of all, is all in your head. I mean, it's correct for you and the fleece, but also the amount of waste you get is what it is. I'm not going to card something to make sure I have less waste unless I think carding is the best reason. You know what I mean? The waste part is rarely, if ever, going to factor in highly on my list of important, what is the word? Important characteristics of the prep. This is my flicked locks. I'm going to make sure we get good focus because I've been having trouble with my camera. This is my carded, we're going backwards, but that's okay. This is my little carded nest. This is my little carded nest. It's looking really good. And then you really can't see the difference very much between the carded and the combed. That is my combed nest. Let's go do it. It's time to spin. My house is kind of a mess, but I don't care. And I'm gonna do the same order as we did with the prep. So I'm gonna spin the combed first. We're gonna spin it on the minstrel. I do have the speed pretty fast, so I'm gonna draft pretty fast, which is fine. And I'm gonna use a worsted draft, really just because it's combed, and that will make like the densest yarn you can make. That is okay. People are allowed to drive by, dude. I'm sure someone will ask why I chose the minstrel. It's out and it doesn't have a project on it. So now I am gonna just take the strings, my belt off my wheel, the strings, you know, the strings, and wind it for turkey hand plying because it's a small amount and that's just gonna be a little bit quicker than like taking out the bobbin, blah, 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 whatever. Look at those singles. They are so, they're beautiful. Really, really pretty. And I'm going to knit the swatch right off the bobbin. I'm going to use a small needle, probably a 3. So we're going to try it and see how we like the swatch. Ooh, and then I'm going to move on to the carded one. Here's the carded. I mean, basically it's a roving because I did it such a narrow little strip on the carder. I'm going to spin it long draw. So I'm going to just gently draft a tiny bit, and it doesn't take much, but it helps loosen it up after it has kind of been compressed into that little nest, because one of the keys to long draw is having your prep nice and loose. You don't want it too dense. So they look nice. I'm gonna do the same thing again. I am going to turkey hand ply them. I gotta show you something before I do that. So one of the reasons that carding a super fine fleece is a concern is that you can get neps and things like that. I want to show you what I pulled out and didn't want to spin out of that. It was admittedly a pretty small sample, but that's it. That is all I pulled out of that entire sample, and that tells me that this can be carded safely as long as I'm careful, which I was when I did this sample, because this is like a shortcut, which happens. And I mean, one shortcut in that whole sample means there probably wasn't much in the fleece at all. And then this, I'm not even sure. I'm not sure. It's a nap. It even could have come off the drum carder because it doesn't look like quite the right color. That's it, and that tells me it's cardable, and it spun up beautifully. This one's the carded sample. It's a lot squishier, and it's just a lot more yarn because the sample was bigger. It's just easy to card a lot at once. It's really quite nice and a little springier because of the woolen prep and woolen spin. I am gonna go ahead and knit up a little swatch with it, just like I did the other. All right, so we're down to the last prep, which is the flicked locks. So when I spin these, you can do it more than one way, but when I spin them, generally I'll hold them as a troll tuft, like I showed you. So kind of in the middle, but loosely. Just trying to figure this one out. Hey. Okay, so, but kind of loosely as like a little tuft, and just spin off one end or the other. For me, it doesn't really matter. And I will use a worsted drafting style with this because I just feel more comfortable, and it's going to be a little less dense than a worsted prep, worsted draft yarn. It'll be kind of a little bit in the middle. This is the spun from the flicked locks. I'm gonna do the same thing, turkey hand. I'm not even gonna show it this time. You've seen it twice. That's probably more than enough. This is the finished yarn. Again, I didn't change hooks, you can tell. It's very squishy. It's got a little tiny bit more texture than either of the other ones. And it ended up being just a tiny bit, heavier isn't the exact right word, thicker maybe. I don't like to say a heavier weight yarn because it's not always heavier, but a wider weight. I'm gonna say this is probably DK, and it's only 2 ply. So I'm gonna go ahead and knit my sample, and then we'll compare all three. This has been so awesome. This one is the combed and worsted draft sample. It turned out super fine. Let me show you. And it's very, very nice. It really is. It's very fine, like I said. You can see even with the little tails. I picked up a little, see that? I picked up a white fiber from my carder. That's not a big deal. I can always run a like cleaning thing through it. But it is way like stretchier, bouncier yarn, and very, very squishy. Which also tells me it's probably going to have more bounce. But beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then last, we have our flicked locks, and then they were spun with a worsted draft, so it's kind of a combination of the two. I am surprised to say that one thing that you can't see by just looking at the sample is that the hand between these two, which is, this is the carded one and this one, are quite a bit different, and the hand of the yarns, because they look a little bit different but not hugely different. This one is like way lighter, it's less dense. And then, as we would expect, the combed and then worsted draft yarn, it does not have much give. It's actually pretty dense. And one thing that has surprised me even more is that I expected to do this, get these samples, and then have it be very easy to make a decision about what to do. While I like that the worsted and worsted sample is a little bit shinier, of course we should have probably expect that. That's the only thing that I like the most about, or like more about it than the other sample. So it's definitely out. These two, I cannot say that I've made a decision. So I'm gonna wait a little while, and I think what I'm gonna do is look for a sweater pattern and decide what characteristics are more important to me, because even the hand of these, this one drapes a bit more, and it feels different. I think I just need to pick a pattern first. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I'm gonna label these and put them in a bag so that I can tell the difference when I actually do go to make a decision. But it's been very helpful for me, and I hope it's been helpful for you. Next week we're gonna be dyeing in the new dyeing space, so I hope to see you there, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks, I love you, bye.